What's up, everybody? Western Po Boy coming at you, and we're going to do a little bit of a refilming of this intro, because I lost the original intro. I thought I pieced it together, but apparently I didn't. This is episode 2 of GEET Tech and how it works, part 1. I'm going to go into more about how to go into building it, how it works, and stuff like that, and some of the phenomena. We're going to cut to the bulk of the video in 3, 2, 1. We're back. What's up, guys? See above my head here? Okay. Over here you got this little, you got a pail. It's got a lining of some type, like clay or bricks or whatever, or clay or something that'll insulate it from heat and keep from foobarring the damn bucket as quickly. That you can make into this burner heater set thing. You got a file. That little file that's sitting on top of a grating is a file of water. And that file it holds water. It's going to be brought to a boil. That steam is going to come out of the tip of that file and go into this pipe right above me. This can be basic iron piping, not regular steel of any kind, or full-blown iron or steel treated with bluing. The said bluing treatment will create a coating of magnetite. That's what guns are used. That's what treats guns, right? It's a protective. It's a rust protectant, and in some iterations of this experiment, we can use bluing treated iron pipe. And what happens is that steam goes into that pipe and it goes through that section, that little burner made of brick. It has an open fire, and that pipe, see the 2 holes in the side where that pipe go in and out of on the side of this thing? That open fire, it heats it up and it causes a series of chemical reactions. And what comes out of the other end of that pipe's hydrogen, and it goes coiling around that little vessel there, and it goes down into that little container, and the output of that container, the other side of that container, as you see here, you could light up the hydrogen and burn it coming out of that piece of tubing. Don't mind the background noise. Our dog's a little retarded. Our little pooch is retarded. So, and she gets excited. She goes, yip, real high when she gets excited. Now what happens, folks, is let me try to paint a picture off of this thing for you, off of this baseline. The first change, okay? Now, hear me out. Let me walk you through this. This is going to be episode 2, part 1, I imagine. But imagine this heating thing. First off, imagine this heating thing, right? This little brick heater fire element thing surrounding that pipe was replaced with exhaust gas that goes up like this, goes around that pipe, and then bends and it comes down like that. So you got exhaust going this way, surrounding that pipe instead of that fire. Change number 1. Change number 2, put a specifically shaped ferromagnetic rod in the middle of that inner pipe that's going to be surrounded by exhaust instead of that open flame. Number 3, pull a vacuum through that middle pipe with that rod in it. 10 to 15 inches mercury, no less if you can help it, or then 10. Anywhere from 8 to 11 is a bare minimum, but the ideal minimum, I would say, would be, for this case, of most utility, was what I mean by ideal in the scientific sense in this case, being 10 inches of mercury minimum. That's how strong it suctions. That's how much of a pressure drop you're purposefully pulling to make the vapors and fluid fly through there. When inches of mercury, that's how much of a pressure drop you want, or a pressure low, or a pressure negative, or a suction. Strongest suction. That's what I'm referring to by inches of vacuum. Inches of mercury vacuum, that technically. And that's the term. It's got the inches mercury. There's this little symbol. I think it was capital H lowercase g or vice versa, whatever the fuck. Like 10 IN dot and then HG dot wrote a certain way for mercury, inches mercury, and pressure. Anyway. 4. Now add some fuel vapors. Either add some fuel vapors with the water vapor going through this now new thing that I build up off of this Lavoisier experiment. This is that's how we discovered water. By the way, I'm going to link the Gutenberg archive of the Gutenberg page, ebook page of the section of this whole isolation of hydrogen from water experiment. By the way, anyways, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Add some fuel vapors or swap out water vapor with a fuel vapor of some type and send that through there under the vacuum with that specific shaped rod around. Instead of that open fire, it'd be exhaust. Okay. And then 5, imagine I think that's it, yeah. So there's 5 changes I'm getting at so far to this picture. I'll go over them. Surround that exhaust. 1 is surround that with, instead of that fire, use an exhaust pipe from an engine. 2, the rod. 3, pull a vacuum through it. 4, swap out vapors or add fuel vapors in with the water vapor. And now 5, imagine a vapor air mix of 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. 3 parts or 2 parts air to 1 part vapor mix, or just fuel vapor. Because then this combination of phenomena, what's going to happen? That hot is going to go around, and you get spiraling downward, spiraling this way. You're going to have cool vapor swirling up through it, swirling its own way. What happens when you have that? Hot air and cold air colliding. The same thing you get in tornadoes. When you see a burst of wind hit a bonfire and you see a twister of smoke rolling, spiral off until it dissipates. Wind, turbulence. Some of you already probably thought that already. Many of you may have. Oh, that sounds like turbulence. That sounds like wind. That sounds like twister. Many of you may have already thought of this as I explained it. And those of you who have, thank you. Now, this combination of effects has been confirmed by Old Dominion University to do sufficiently, or do well enough, as a fuel reformer that cracked apart E85. That's 15% alcohol. I'm sorry, that's 85% alcohol, ethanol, 15% gasoline. I was going through my notes, sorry. Because I'm going to glance at them occasionally, make sure I'm on track now. Anyhow. Another little thing to mention. Before I go into this other little piece. This combination of effects not only worked so well, but it extended the runtime of a push mower, by 28.57% longer runtime over the original carburetor, feeding the engine gasoline and air. Now, I think there's some implications of doing that by itself and routing that blow-by vapor coming out of the crankcase of the push mower into the intake of that damn thing. I think that has implications enough on its own. That can extend the runtime as well, potentially, because of cracking of the blow-by vapors of pyrolyzed, partially broken down engine oil. And I would like to see that confirmed. That'd simply be the recreation of the experiment by Old Dominion University, which I have a PDF of. The final reports on it. There's three. There's 3 reports. I have the final report PDF, but I can get the other 2 if you want. And what'll happen, I'm pretty certain, the cracking of the said vapors will extend the runtime further and extend engine life because you're keeping the suction on the crankcase. And keeping it cool, helping it keep itself cool. The air cooling is more effective, is a little bit more effective, so that's awesome. Now, Mary, you're so rotten. So now that we've gotten into that, and it's been confirmed. Now the next thing I'm going to go into is now that I'm ready for it, instead of jumping ahead of myself, that ferromagnetic rod. The reason I mentioned it's ferromagnetic is going to come up pretty soon. But the ferromagnetic rod in the middle has another function. It serves as a Venturi port, another Venturi port. Now, some of you that are not aerodynamically or mechanically inclined might wonder, what the hell is that? What the hell is this Venturi port thing? Well, it's one of the most fundamental things you need for a gasoline engine to utilize this. It's actually one of the best things for volumetric efficiency, and I'll explain it. If any of you have ever heard of the phrase cold air intake, the only way a cold air intake is good is if the air going into it is away from the engine, so it's cooler. The second thing is it starts out wide and then gradually and surely and evenly narrows down as the air travels the length of the tube. And the tube starts real wide and it narrows down to what we call the inlet manifold, that where the air travels through finally to go to the pistons, to go inside those cylinders. That narrowing, keeping it cool, and it helps the efficiency of turbochargers too, as well. What happens? You start out wide and you slowly and evenly and gradually narrow down. You gradually not only keep the density of air up, but you let the speed of it get better and better. It speeds up. As you gradually narrow it down, the more it speeds up. Air density and airflow speed. A Venturi effect, when you have a narrowing for a fluid to go through, a narrowing of an inlet, of a hole for a fluid to go through, it speeds up. And then the Venturi effect also incites another principle called the Bernoulli principle, or Bernoulli effect, which means that excuse me, which means that a fluid drops in pressure, it speeds up, or if it speeds up, it drops in pressure. It's back and forth. You speed it up, it drops in pressure. You drop it in pressure, it speeds up. It's a back and forth relationship there. And this will accelerate the matter. Now these effects, these effects actually together are enough alone to crack E85 apart and extend the runtime of a push mower engine and make it burn clean. And I will posit that running the blow bite out of that little port to the intake of that damn middle pipe, cracking that vapor down, will also extend runtime, because you're cracking these fumes, noxious, really nasty fumes, and turning it into a useful output fuel. More useful than just venting the Venturi port directly into the intake of the push mower. I will argue that as that hypothesis needs to be tested. Now, final thing. Well, actually a penultimate thing. Since I've explained the middle rod's main functions so far, it's got 3 functions. Venturi, Bernoulli effect, and then it hovers and spins, so due to high wind forces you're trying to generate through the middle, through that heat exchange, pulling a vacuum through that middle pipe. So what happens? If you're able to foster static electricity to build up in those vapors by charging, by charging. This is the effect number 6. Change number 6. Vapors go through the middle pipe. They go through the fuel lines into this piping. Pipe within a pipe and a rod inside the middle pipe. The raw friction of the vapors and the fuel line materials and the bubbler or modified carburetor or whatever you can use, or eductor, the vapors are able to carry rub and build up static electricity. And that's number 6. Penultimately, number 7. Imagine if that vapor air mix is able to accumulate enough static charge and these things are in effect and start speeding along inside under a vacuum, got enough charge that air vapor mixes start to ionize due to what is called electrostatic discharge. There it is. Electrostatic discharge is a sudden and momentary flow of electrical current. When static electricity becomes current electricity, and this electric discharge of current between two electrically charged objects caused by contact, an electrical short, rubbing, or dielectric breakdown, which a buildup of static electricity is caused by turboelectric effect, or turboelectric charging, or turbocharging, or alternatively by electrostatic induction. That's a different approach entirely, but regardless. Now, this takes place, and these effects happen. Sparking could occur inside that middle pipe along and up and down that rod. Now, under a vacuum, it's not an explosion hazard. Don't worry. Don't be scared. Don't run for cover. Under a vacuum, it's not a danger. What'll happen is it'll help crack the fuel down, make it more likely to be cracked into a syngas. Now, if all these other effects occur, the final series of effects, if the ferromagnetic rod that happens to be spinning inside there in that middle pipe, and the sparking and sparks happening around it is potentially the same as what happens when you pass steam through copper tubing coiled around an iron bar, as discovered in 1875 thanks to Donato Tomasi, or apply electricity to a coil of copper wire around an iron bar. Electromagnetism. And this is truly penultimate. Lastly, and if the electromagnetic field develops around that rod, then this, by the way, this would be a clear invoking of the electromagnetic lines of force. Everyone, check out Faraday, Thomson, and Steinmetz and Heaviside. More info into that, especially Faraday, Steinmetz, and Thomson. Once the rod manages to form its electromagnetic field, Lenz's law could occur in effect and cause reversing, counteracting electromagnetic fields on the two pipes around the rod. And if they have their remnant magnetic signatures matched up based on opposites attract, which would be right here, remnant magnetics. Outer pipe, the exhaust pipe matches the magnetic remnant signatures of the rod, and the middle pipe will be opposite of those two, as you see here. Oh yeah, baby! That's fucking right. Now, the sparking effect, essentially the electrical forces, like this analogy here, when you go after a doorknob, and you got electrons or something, the electrical forces are going to push those electrons off of you, out and off of your hand through your fingertips, and jump to the doorknob, and that's going to cause a spark, and it'll shock you. I repeat this experiment with my thumb and a big piece of iron, rub my ass and back against something, build up static electric charge, pop myself enough times to light up that room, that wood heater was in, and it lit the room. And I did it 5 times. By the 5th time, it stopped hurting. It started going. The thumb started going completely numb for a few minutes. I said, "Okay, I need to stop." I got the gist. And if that's the case, and if this can be occurred at a bare minimum, we're golden. Why? Because we're using combinations of the forces of nature and high school physics and shit too, in a really weird, fucky way to make plasma occur naturally, using electrostatics and turbocharging and understanding of turboelectric tables and all that stuff, which should make this easier. These are the effects I want to see recreated or disproven through experimenting and trying to build this. Hence why one of the reasons why I made this series. I think this could be tricky, but if you understand how to mess with dielectric materials, learn enough about the turboelectric tables, turboelectric charging and such, it should make it easier for people to recreate these effects. That being said, I'm going to end that here. And yes, I got my notes in laminated paper, laminated copies. And I'm going to print another stack of them. I'm going to share these with some people. And I'm going to print the PDF, my own custom addition to the PDF, to just MS piecing together, Microsoft piece together schlop of a PDF for people to hopefully get a decent enough picture. Then should be able to get a decent idea of what to do for the experiment, including a list of parts. And I'll go into more details in episode 2, part 2, and I will see you later. Thank you for watching.